Hi, it's Jim O'Brien, Screamin Scott Randall, CSX Rock Talk. I wanted to get Scott on to talk about this because Alex Van Halen was doing an interview overseas and he talked about having all these threads, stuff that he hadn't finished with Eddie, right?
Mhm.
And then we find out that he is enlisting Steve Lukather to help him kind of produce these things, master them, whatever they're going to do with them. And then we also had an interview recently with Geddy Lee where Geddy was talking about how he's got songs that they never released, but Neil's gone. Are you okay with music that never saw the light of day being released after the primary people from the bands are gone?
Well, we've already seen a touch of it. Remember with the Beatles, the Free as a Bird, and Now and Then. Um, it's hard to bring back a dead guy, but basically, if there was unfinished stuff, it's just unique of what could have been and what is could be. Meaning, just basically, there's probably some great Eddie guitar licks, and if it's actually him
Right.
doing it, why not? And bring back David Lee Roth. Drumming wise, I don't know how that would work with Rush because there was only one professor.
Yeah, it was Neil.
There are some great drummers out there, but I don't think I would mind too much, just as long as there's limitations. When they're creating something from scratch with not any old audio, then I have a problem with it.
Well, that was like the thing for some of like the most recent Beatles one. I remember a lot of us were going, all right, it's cool, but you kind of took from like what, three or four different songs
Yeah,
it was kind of like, what would you call it? A mashup or something.
but
Right. I'm kind of nervous that that's going to be the same thing with Van Halen, that they're going to, Alex is going to take some of these threads or streams or whatever and
mhm.
turn it into something, but it's not really a song.
And do you bring back Michael Anthony in that, or do you keep Wolfgang? That's
I don't
another
know.
question to ponder.
If it's just a guitar lick, how far will you go with it? I mean, that cassette again, it comes back. That's my question, Scott. Is like, it's not really a Van Halen song. It's
Right.
Eddie's known for thousands of guitar licks, and I'm sure he recorded everything.
I got a great idea. You
Yeah.
got Gary Sharon's number?
God. Why? Why? We're having a nice conversation, sipping coffee,
Hey,
talking with you.
Gary Sharon, they had a whole album that was done, and they
Yeah.
never released it. And they said it was pretty good.
But are you okay with it? I mean, Alex, it sounds to me like if Alex is not dumb. If he's talking about this,
Yeah,
that's one of those things you're trying to figure out how it's going to land and floating it out there. I kind
sure.
of get the feeling they're further down the road than we think they are.
For Alec, I think it's good therapy. I truly do.
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
He's been pretty screwed up about this whole thing with Eddie, hasn't he?
yeah.
Is there something like this? I mean, like Led Zeppelin, we pretty much got what we got.
Right.
I don't think there's anything that they never.
I think they went through, and all there is no more.
And then the Beatles, you hear there's still rumblings of like one or two tracks, but as far
Mhm.
as I know, didn't Paul say that was it, or there's still a couple more out there?
Who knows? Yoko holds the keys to a lot of cassette demos and stuff that still have unsurfaced yet.
Is that right? I mean, does she really?
I'm sure there's a treasure trove of a lot of just John Lennon solo stuff, I would think. But as for Beatles stuff, who knows?
Yeah. I've always been told that the Eagles had a lot of stuff
Wow.
that they never that never saw the light of day, after the long run and stuff and with the passing of Glenn. I wonder if Don would be willing to do that.
Might cost a couple trees.
Oh my God. Yeah. But think about, I mean, like you think about the Eagles, man, like, I
Yeah.
mean, all the stuff, they did, the Seeger and backing vocals and stuff. We've always heard the
Mhm.
stories that there's a version of Fire Lake with just them singing and like, Seeger singing Heartache Tonight and vice versa. Yeah. I'd like to hear it. Maybe
Yeah.
this is more common than we realize.
Mhm.
And we're just kind of being made aware of it as some of our artists get a little bit older.
I'm not really familiar with all the rap artists, but the rap artist community was scared to death of them just using their voices and creating music that never even existed. So
Right.
there is that aspect. And I've seen
And
it
this,
done already. It's like, well, imagine the Beatles if they would have done this song, and then they created it from scratch. And it's okay, but you just know it's not them.
we've been messing around. We've been getting a lot of the AI. Remember, we had the one Van Halen album, if they were from the 1940s or whatever, they had a
Yeah.
female, all AI. It's all
Mhm.
done AI. And it's kinda scary. I mean, how you could
Yeah.
release something and people wouldn't know.
They did it with Led Zeppelin too, and it's just incredible.
You like those? I feel like I don't know. I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I'm violating my classic rock pedigree or some stupid crap because I'm listening to it.
Well, remember when David Lee Roth took the Van Halen songs and did a country version of them?
Yeah,
Ah! What are you doing? But then
I'm
it's
okay with that.
corny, but okay.
Yeah, because it's him, but or just somebody sitting in a studio just screwing around, making stuff up like that. It always freaks me out, man. I don't know. I don't know. This stuff with Alex though, it's you got to wonder. Like I've always wondered the period after 1984, how much stuff didn't make it when David left
Right.
that was still in the studio, and then you've heard Sammy talk about
Oh yeah.
how many songs are out there that
There's,
never saw the
there's
light of day.
two, three, four albums worth of stuff.
Really?
And I loved the cover stuff that they would goof around with. And when they did the Who, Won't Get Fooled Again,
Was that
unbelievable.
in a studio? Were they like were they in Amsterdam or something? They were like
Yeah.
overseas. They were
Hmm.
just screwing around in the studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
Are we okay with this then? I mean, if Alex has these threads, if he's going to do it,
I encourage Alex to do it. I think it'd be good for him.
yeah. I don't know other bands. I was starting to think, but before Scott, I was thinking like the other bands come to mind. Zeppelin, there's really nothing
Right.
there. The Beatles, you kind of talk about that. The Who just kept going. I mean, they're still going. It's not like they stopped when Moose died or anything or Keith Moon. I mean, they just keep going.
And we need a new Stones album.
Oh my God. Is there anything? Okay, here's a deep thought.
Yeah.
Is there stuff from the Rolling Stones from the Brian Jones era that never got released,
Oh, that's a good question.
right? Because they never talk about them. I mean,
Right.
they never talk about that whole conspiracy theory crap,
Hmm.
but they never talk about them. I always wondered, okay, so maybe all this new technology is giving us chances to kind of go back and revisit stuff.
I think it's a yin and yang. Some could be good, and then some could be used for evil. Remember, the internet was made so we could resource stuff, and now it's mostly porn.
Nah, it's it's research purposes. That's all we're using it for. But
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. I hope Lukather puts his hands on this and does something with it. It would be
Could,
cool, wouldn't it?
couldn't have
I'm
picked a
kind of
better guy. Couldn't have picked a
yeah.
better guy. Steve is just amazing. Just an amazing guitarist, and was good friends with Eddie.
So he played the rhythm guitar on Beat It, Michael Jackson, and then Eddie played the solo. Is that right?
Correct.
I always get that backwards.
And there's
Okay.
tons of other stuff that he played on Michael Jackson stuff that I was unaware of.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
Also, what I found out, the Tubes. She's a Beauty. That guitar, it's Steve. I never knew
Wait, what?
the
That's
beginning of
Lukather on the
the
oh,
Tubes.
yeah,
She's a
I
Beauty.
know the one. She's a beauty. That's
Sorry,
Lukather?
I'm very bad at air guitar.
Well, you're in a band though, man. You're a famous rock star here in Detroit. You could do this all day. Yeah, you got me thinking about this now. I wonder, here's the other last conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory, but what if this opens up the floodgates for other artists? They go, all right, if Alex is doing this and he's bringing people in, it's time for me to pull out some of the stuff I haven't done in the past or stuff that I didn't know what to do with, and let's see what's going on.
Right.
Okay.
Bill Collins would be one for that too. I'm sure his solo stuff and with Genesis or without Genesis.
I always wondered about Clapton and Derek and the Dominoes
Ooh,
because you think with him and Derek in Dwayne Allman in studio, the two of them there must be some jam sessions that are just freaking magical.
yeah,
I don't know. See, look at this. It's a brand new world, Scott. We're just sitting here. You're in the studio. I'm at home sipping on coffee, and we're sitting here talking about Alex Van Halen potentially releasing new Van Halen music.
yeah. I'm in.
Are you in?
I'm in.
Okay. All right. You're in. Will you cover it with your band Chit at one of your local gigs?
You bet to be sure I whiz.
What was the first Van Halen song you learned with the band?
Ain't talk about love, believe it or not.
Really? Okay.
You know I'm
That's a
never good looking and on the street again. You think you're really cooking, baby? You better find yourself a friend.
you sound good.
I think Cheech and Chong would be a great remake of that song.
Well, that was all you had a little Arthur P by the end of that.
Watch it, Chunky.
Y'all, the streets again. I'll tell you
No,
what,
I
what I
love
just
you more than you love me.
all right, Rock Talk. So we're both on board, right? With Alex?
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Coming up tomorrow, Ketchup on a Coney. Is it a thing? Don't Say Yes. Oh, God, Randall.